In the previous life, Huazhi's beloved little brother was robbed by Wu Xiaoyue from the same village. In a fit of anger, Huazhi married someone else, and because she didn't want to go back to the sad place, she never returned home even when she was at the end of her life. Unexpectedly, as soon as she opened her eyes, she found herself back at the age of 17. Her little brother was robbed by Fa Xiao, and Zhuma's little brother also refused her. This time, she decided not to get married anymore and just to stay by the side of her family, getting married. She doesn't want to get married. It's pretty much like someone else marrying her. Keywords of the novel. 80 Changjie sweet and seductive without pop-ups, 80 Changjie sweet and seductive full collection download, 80 Changjie sweet and seductive latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Returning to the age of 17. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1 Returning to the age of 17, third sister. Law, don't think I'm not good at speaking. Your family's Huazhi and Wu Xiaoyue's 2 daughters are vying for a man, and their reputation has been ruined. Now there's only one breath left, no hope left, and they're wasting money. Third sister. Law, why don't you just agree to the Wang family? As long as you send the flower branches over, you'll get 100 yuan right away. Who can get a dowry of 100 yuan for marrying a girl? Do you think so? You and third brother have 2 sons, and even if you don't think about third brother, you have to think about both sons, right? They won't be able to build a house and marry a wife in the future, will they? Lao Wang's family has already approached her. As long as the flower family sends the flower branches over, they will give her a benefit fee of 100 yuan. What about 100 yuan? This is the income from the countryside for 2 to 3 years. Old Wang's family. The woman who was called the third sister. Law raised her hazy eyes and looked at the fourth aunt of the child with suspicion. Then she rubbed against her and stood up. Didn't the youngest son of the old Wang family have been buried for 2 months? The next second, the woman reacted and screamed, "You poisonous woman, our Huazhi is doing well. You actually asked our Huazhi to marry a dead person. Isn't this a arranged marriage? How could there be a fourth aunt like you in this world? If your child has an accident, you don't want to be well, but you think of these crooked ways. Since you want money so much, you should go and marry someone else yourself. It's just a good time to give this money to your man and let him marry another woman back." Rolling. 2 women were arguing incessantly at the door, and on the wooden bed separated by a curtain, the girl named Huazhi slowly opened her eyes. Seeing everything familiar around her, she was completely stunned. After a long time, she finally came to her senses and realized that she had returned to 7 or 6 years. She was 17 years old that year, and after graduating from high school, her family was powerless and unable to find a job. Therefore, she taught at a village school and fell in love with a young educated person from the city. But to my surprise, as we were about to get married, this educated young brother was snatched away by the young boy Wu Xiaoyue who grew up together. Then she approached Wu Xiaoyue to argue, and the 2 of them started fighting in the ground. Both of them were injured, and her head hit a stone. The situation was much more serious than Wu Xiaoyue's, and she even had a high fever that never subsided. The village once thought she couldn't survive. Later, when she recovered and regained her health, her family asked Gu Chen, who grew up with her, if he was willing to marry her. Gu Chen said he didn't like her and refused her. Later, in order to argue with the Wu family, their parents found a mother-in-law for Hua Zhi outside. In order to argue with Wu Xiaoyue, Huazhi didn't waste any time and directly married herself. Because she didn't want to go back to the sad place, she never came back in her previous life even if she ended up in dire straits. This is also the thing she regrets the most, because she didn't want to go home, her parents passed away, and her 2 younger brothers and 1 youngest sister were both bullied to death. In the end, she also held a grudge and died. Unexpectedly, when she opened her eyes, she returned to the age of 17. This time, she would never get married in anger again, and she would like to stay by the side of her family well. Listening to Aunt C's intention of marrying her in the dark outside, Huazhi gritted her teeth in anger and sat up from the bed with a quick rub. As a result, she suddenly pulled the wound on her head, causing her to take a cold breath in pain. But at this point, she couldn't care about these anymore, because if she didn't stop her anymore, her mother would be pushed down by Aunt C, her abdomen hit the threshold, and her ribs would be broken. Although it wasn't fatal, it was extremely painful. And in this era, medical skills are not as good. In the previous life, her mother's ribs were not properly connected and did not grow well. She could not do anything in the future. It is estimated that her mother passed away early in her previous life because of today's events. So the most important thing now is to save her mother. Huazhi got out of bed, stood up, and tried to force herself to hold on until she rescued her mother. Seeing the axe placed in the corner, Huazhi picked it up and slowly walked towards the door. Since the Wang family has given so much money, Aunt C should go by herself. I believe that the young son of the Wang family will not mind Aunt C's age. Is that the new mother? The Wang family should be happy for Aunt C to take care of their young son who passed away young. Aunt C's face immediately changed, but fortunately she didn't continue to push her mother, so her mother wouldn't get hurt. Seeing Huazhi walking out with a pale face, Zhou Yulan quickly reached out to support her and looked at her excitedly. Huazhi, how do you feel now? Huazhi looked at Zhou Yulan like this. Although she was not yet 40 years old, she looked old and haggard due to years of hard work. Huazhi's eyes slowly turned red. It was truly regrettable to be able to start over and see her family again. But now that I have returned, I will definitely not let my parents be bullied again, let alone continue to live a difficult life. Huazhi reached out and hugged Zhou Yulan, choking. Mom, I miss you so much. It feels like I haven't seen you for decades. You silly child, what nonsense are you talking about? We meet every day, don't we? Let's go back to our room and rest. Zhou Yulan ignored Sun Shuqin and helped Huazhi back to her room, putting her to bed. Huazhi, please rest well first. If you're thirsty, tell me. Mom, you ask Hua Jin to come to my room tonight. I have something to talk to him about. Thinking about the betrayal of her partner and their childhood, Huazhi couldn't swallow this breath, and she didn't intend to let them go like this. Zhou Yulan nodded and said, rest assured. When they come back from work, I will tell Hua Jin. Huazhi nodded as Zhou Yulan remembered her words. With her mother, whom she had missed for many years, by her side, she closed her eyes with peace of mind. In the evening, when the Hua family returned from work and learned that Huazhi had woken up, they all rushed into her room. The second uncles Huashuang and Huaxiue even brought back August melons for her. In their old flower family, except for their fourth uncle, fourth aunt, and two sons who are the most favored, everyone else is the fate of an old scalper who works more and eats less. Only Huazhi's situation is special because Huazhi is the teacher of the village school and also gives face to the grandparents of the flower family. Let's all go have dinner. Huazhi has just woken up and needs to rest. Zhou Yulan saw Huazhi's tired face and ordered to leave. Huazhi didn't know that everyone would come to see her at night before, and planned to ask her mother to help her call Hua Jin to her home. Now that she happened to see Hua Jin, she gave him a wink, nodded, and followed the army out. After a while, Hua Jin brought her dinner. It's congee made of rice bran mixture. Half of the rice is half of the rice husk. There's no way to have more people and less food. It's not enough to eat like this. However, Huazhi knew that the fourth uncle's family ate white rice or rice congee, because grandma gave them all the good food. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Meeting with Zhang Shengjian. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Meeting with Zhang Shengjian. Jin, come and see me tomorrow morning before you leave. Hua Jin asked inexplicably, is there anything else? If you come tomorrow, you'll know. I can't be 100% sure now. Huazhi picked up her rice bowl and started eating. She had just woken up from the injury and needed to eat more to recover, but she only picked out the rice grains inside and left the rest. The Hua family is not separated, and the whole family is crowded together. Hua Zhi lives with her younger brother and sister. She and her fourth sister Huayu sleep in the lower bunk because she needs to prepare lessons and take notes at night. She sleeps late and it is inconvenient to sleep in the upper bunk, so she sleeps in the lower bunk with her fourth sister, and the second and third younger brothers sleep in the upper bunk. It is said that when boys and girls grow up, they need to share rooms, but in rural areas, there are no such conditions. Many families share the same room as siblings or siblings, and some even squeeze into the same room with their parents. After the younger siblings fell asleep at night, Huazhi got off the bed and went to her desk. After lighting the kerosene lamp with a lampshade, she took out the love poems and letters written by Zhang Shengjian, a scumbag, from the book. When she received these letters, she had already read them. Now that she takes them out, there is no ripple in her heart. She only wants to deal with this scumbag and slut hard. So Huazhi tore off a piece of paper from the manuscript and picked up her pen to start writing seriously. Suddenly, a gentle tapping sound came from the window, and Huazhi was startled. After waiting for a moment, she saw that the tapping sound was still continuing, so she cautiously carried the kerosene lamp to the window. Pushing open the window, Huazhi couldn't help but blush as she looked out at Xiao Nan, a young man whom she had never seen since getting married in her past life. "Xiao Nan, why are you here?" Huazhi asked in confusion. Huazhi, open the window a little wider. "I have something for you." Xiao Nan looked at Huazhi sincerely. Xiao Nan, who was 18 years old, was tall and had long legs. His wheat-colored skin accentuated his bright and lively eyes, like the shining stars in the sky. Looking at him like this, Huazhi suddenly felt a little embarrassed. Huazhi hesitated and pushed the window open a little more. Now, she could climb in alone. Xiao Nan lifted the basket in her hand and handed it to Huazhi. Huazhi reached out and took it over, only to see clearly in front of her that there was actually a large teapot inside that was simmering black outside. Huazhi was about to ask Xiao Nan what this was, but caught a glimpse of Xiao Nan turning around and leaving. Huazhi sighed and quickly closed the window again. Returning to his desk, he put away the textbooks and manuscripts on the table, then put down the basket and opened the lid of the large teapot. What caught his eye was the old mother's chicken soup with oil flowers. The strong aroma of chicken soup rushed over, making Huazhi almost unable to control herself and directly break through the defense. The life of the Xiao family is also not easy. Xiao Nan has to take care of 2 sick elderly people alone, and Xiao Nan's father only sends back 5 yuan per month. 5 yuan for 3 people to eat may not be enough, let alone seeking medical treatment and medicine. I didn't expect Xiao Nan to send her such a large vat of old mother chicken soup in such difficult conditions, with so many chicken pieces inside, at least half a chicken. The chicken soup in this large teapot was really unbearable for Huazhi. After thinking for a moment, she covered the lid of the teapot again, opened the window, stuck the basket there with the window, and then turned around and went out. Coming outside the window, Huazhi tiptoed up and carefully took down the basket. She looked around and then cautiously walked toward Xiao Nan's house, carrying the basket. Arriving outside Xiao Nan's house, Huazhi raised her hand and gently knocked on the door. The next second, the door was opened, as if he had been standing behind it all along. Huazhi handed the basket to Xiao Nan. "Xiao Nan, this is too valuable for me to accept. My family has already eaten it, and now the weather is very hot and it doesn't feel good. If you don't eat, you'll have to waste it." Xiao Nan took a step back and didn't reach out to take the basket. Huazhi felt a little helpless and said, "Why don't we eat together?" Xiao Nan stepped aside and let Huazhi in. A group of several children grew up together and often ran to other people's homes. They were familiar with each other just like their own family members, but for Huazhi now, it felt like they were separated from each other. In fact, she comes to Xiao Nan's house every day. Since she became a teacher at the village primary school, she has been teaching several hair groups at Xiao Nan's house. Now she has completed the second grade courses for everyone, and the suspension these days is also due to that kind of situation. Now that she is well, she will have to continue teaching everyone in a few days. After sharing the old hen and chicken soup in the teapot with Xiao Nan, Huazhi went home. It's mid-August now, and the rice has been harvested and the seedlings have been planted. There aren't as many things to do in the village now, so everyone started working later than before. After finishing breakfast, Huazhi came to Huazhi's room and asked, "Huazhi, what's the point of calling me over? Can you help me hand this to Shengjian?" Huazhi took out the letter she wrote last night from the drawer and handed it to Huazhi. "Do you still want to have any contact with Shengjian?" Huazhi frowned and said somewhat displeased, "Of course not, I want to solve the problem with him. I have already called Xiao Nan and Xiao Bei, and they will accompany me tonight. You can rest assured." Huazhi didn't want to do things so badly, but she would never let those two people come to her and make a fuss. Huazhi just took the letter and hid it in his clothes, then went out to work. At night, Huazhi took advantage of the moonlight and came to Xiao Nan's doorstep. She reached out and knocked on the door, and then the courtyard door opened. Xiao Nan and Xiao Bei came out of the courtyard together, and then the three of them walked towards the village together. By the wall of the elementary school courtyard, there was indeed the figure of Mo Xinchang standing, and that person was Zhang Shengjian. Huazhi had been in a relationship with him for a year without holding hands, but unexpectedly, after a year of friendship, Wu Xiaoyue still dug a corner. Zhang Shengjian is from the city, with a fair and tender appearance and a delicate and soft body. His parents in rural areas usually don't like him, but he is now a teacher. He earns 15 yuan a month, and this job suddenly makes him a coveted job. But from the perspective of later generations, when Huazhi looked at him again, he felt that he couldn't carry his shoulders or lift his hands, and that he was weaker than a female comrade. "Zhang Shengjian, how many love letters and poems did you write to me in this year? Do you still remember? I have all cherished them well. You said if I take them all out and make them public, what kind of punishment do you think you will face?" Huazhi approached with a hint of threat in her eyes. There was a hint of shock in Zhang Shengjian's eyes, and he didn't expect Huazhi to call him out because of this incident. At the thought of being threatened, a wave of hatred surged in my heart. However, when I caught a glimpse of several figures not far behind, I immediately pressed my mind and decided to act according to the situation in the future. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. 2 Conditions. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 2 Conditions. Zhang Shengjian, if you want to marry Wu Xiaoyue smoothly, I have 2 demands. As long as you do, I will let you and Wu Xiaoyue go, otherwise both of you will have to go to jail. Firstly, tomorrow you should ask the principal to resign. After all, I helped you secure your job. Since you are no longer my partner and you are still in this position, it proves that you have no mercy on me and are not good to me. Therefore, it is not suitable for you to stay in this position. Secondly, give me 500 yuan as compensation for your betrayal of me. In his past life, Zhang Shengjian married Wu Xiaoyue, and there was also a dowry of 200 yuan, which made Wu Xiaoyue look stunning. Zhang Shengjian is wealthy, so she doesn't feel embarrassed at all. Anyway, she doesn't want to take advantage of that slut Wu Xiaoyue, let alone let Wu Xiaoyue regain her former glory. Although Huazhi doesn't have a deep affection for Zhang Shengjian, she has put in a lot of effort for his affairs. In this situation, if someone snatches her partner, it would be strange if she could forgive her. Zhang Shengjian clenched his hands tightly on his side and agreed after a long time, "Okay, come to this place at this time tomorrow night. If a third person knows about this matter, then don't blame me for posting the love letter you wrote me to the relevant unit. If the grandmother of the Hua family finds out about this, she can take all the money, and in order to save it, Huazhi can only threaten Zhang Shengjian again." Huazhi has no emotional attachment to Zhang Shengjian now. As soon as she finishes speaking, she turns around and leaves without any attachment. Even Zhang Shengjian finds it unbelievable. Is this still the Huazhi who has been with him for a year? Previously, I went to find Wu Xiaoyue to settle accounts for him. I didn't even want the face of a cultured person anymore, and the two of them just got into a fight. Why is it now like I don't have any feelings for him? Xiao Nan and Xiao Bei saw Hua Zhi coming and quickly followed her. Tomorrow night, please come with me again. Could you please? Huazhi turned back and said to the brothers. She also knows the truth that when a dog jumps over a wall and a rabbit is in a hurry, it will bite people. If she comes to face Zhang Shengjian alone, it is difficult to guarantee that he will not do anything extreme to herself. No trouble, Huazhi. Why are you so polite to us now? If you want to trouble us, it's also us who trouble you. You teach students during the day and also teach us at night. Xiao Nan hurriedly said from behind. He is really happy to be able to help her, otherwise he always feels like he owes her a lot. The next morning, Huazhi felt that her body had almost recovered, and she also picked up a basket to follow her younger brothers and sisters up the mountain to collect mushrooms and dig wild vegetables. Perhaps it's because there hasn't been any rain, the soil on the mountain is dry and white, and I haven't seen any edible wild vegetables at all. If everyone was here, it would be a waste of time, so Huazhi asked smaller people to search for mushrooms and wild vegetables on the outskirts. She walked deep with Hua and Hua Jin to see if they could catch wild chickens or rabbits. Hua Jin is a boy who can climb up a tree to pick up bird eggs. Although the bird eggs are small, it is also possible to make a bowl of egg soup by picking out a few more. A large family lacks nutrition and is not in good health. They need to eat something good to supplement their body, but they cannot eat it at Lao Hua's house. Because it would all go into the stomach of the fourth uncle's family, so if you want to eat, you have to go to Xiao Nan's house to cook. Xiao Nan's family is small, so they only have 3 members. Huazhi bent down to pick up a few small stones that were handy and threw them at a small tree. Huazhi asked in confusion, Huazhi, what are you doing? I'll practice for a while first, so I won't miss the wild chicken later. Thinking of the wild chicken, Huazhi couldn't help but swallow her saliva, feeling as if she hadn't eaten eggs or chicken for decades. In this era, raising chickens was based on population, with 3 people having 1 chicken. The entire Lao Hua family had a total of 20 people, raising 7 chickens. They could also lay a lot of eggs in a year, but Hua Zhi had not even eaten a single egg. It's strange not to be greedy now. The flower smiled helplessly and said, if the pheasant is really so easy to catch, shouldn't everyone come up every day to catch it? Can it still be our turn to catch it? Even if you can't catch a wild chicken, you can still catch a few sparrows. The sparrows are good to eat. Hua Zhi practiced for a while and felt that her hit rate had reached 50%, so she walked forward. 3 people bent over and searched in the dense grass, because wild chickens usually lay eggs in the dense grass. After bending her waist for a while, Huazhi felt a severe soreness in her waist, so she stood up straight and moved her waist. Accidentally, I caught a glimpse of a plump figure flying out of the nearby thorny bushes, so I quickly threw it with the small stone in my hand. When she threw it, she deliberately threw a little bit forward. When the plump figure flew a little further forward, it was hit by a stone and fell into the dense grass, struggling non-stop. Hua Jin, hurry up and grab it, don't let it run away, Huazhi said excitedly. Hua Jin ran over and saw a plump pheasant, trying hard to run forward. He quickly grabbed the pheasant, crossed its wings, and hurried back to Huazhi. With a smile on his face, he said, Huazhi, I didn't expect you to be so lucky that you really hit your wings. Huazhi was also very happy. Quickly hide it in the basket and cover it with firewood to avoid being seen by the villagers. We will take it to Xiao Nan's house later and ask him to handle it for us. In the evening, we will go over and have chicken soup. After Huazhi finished speaking, she ran towards the place where the wild chicken took off. Unexpectedly, there was a nest of wild eggs in the thorny bushes. Huazhi counted them and found 12. She was overjoyed and quickly took the wild eggs. In the evening, Huazhi went to the vicinity of the village with Xiao Nan and Xiao Bei. Huazhi saw Zhang Shengjian and asked directly, "Have everything been done? Are the money ready?" Zhang Shengjian nodded and said, "I went to the principal's house today and told her about resigning. The principal said she would apply to transfer a teacher from a primary school in town. There is evidence in Huazhi's hand that he steps on 2 boats. Zhang Shengjian is really afraid that Huazhi will confess him, so he probably won't be able to return to the city in the future." Upon hearing this, Huazhi nodded in satisfaction, no matter who the teacher was, as long as it wasn't Zhang Shengjian. Zhang Shengjian has lost his job as a teacher and his income, and he can't earn much work. Let's see how Wu Xiaoyue and the Wu family will behave in the future. Huazhi still can't forget the face of Wu Xiaoyue and her family. It seems like it's such a glorious thing to snatch objects from people's hands. The villagers were all asleep, and the entire lay production team was silent, except for Xiao Nan's kitchen. A bunch of people gathered there, waiting to drink wild chicken soup. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Quietly Buying a House. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Quietly buying a house except for the 2 children from the 4th family, the children from the other siblings of the Hua family are all present, filling the kitchen of the Xiao Nan family. The flower looked at Huazhi and said enviously, "Huazhi, why are you so amazing? We have a better life today than others during the Chinese New Year." Huazhi smiled and said, "Big sister, as long as we work together, our daily life will be as good as the Chinese New Year. In the future, I will continue to teach you and strive to have a few cultured people in our family, so that we don't have to dig in the mud anymore." The flower was a bit embarrassed. "Can Grandma let us read?" "Don't worry, I will come up with a solution then," Huazhi said. The news of college entrance examination enrollment will be released in September next year, so we must use the fake registered residence certificate to replace the new registered residence certificate before September next year, or Grandma will definitely not allow them to take the college entrance examination. My grandparents love the 4th uncle and 4th aunt family the most, and they don't even pay attention to the children in the other rooms. They are not just ordinary eccentricities at all. After a while, Xiao Nan lifted the steaming lid of the pot, scooped up a spoonful of chicken soup and poured it into a bowl. Then he took a small sip and said, "The saltiness is suitable, it's very delicious, you can drink it now." Xiao Nan put down his bowl and quickly took a clean one, filled it with a big chicken leg, a chicken gizzard, and 2 chicken breasts, and then handed it to Huazhi. Today, this wild chicken was caught by Huazhi, so the first bowl is for Huazhi. The rest of you can serve it yourself. Xiao Nan helped Huazhi put chicken soup on the table, and then Huazhi took her chopsticks and said, "Huazhi, please drink slowly, be careful not to scald it." Huazhi nodded and said, "Thank you." Looking at the hot chicken soup in front of her, Huazhi's eyes were a bit moist. She really hopes to make her parents drink such hot chicken soup, but if she brings the chicken soup home and her grandparents discover it, they will definitely scold her so badly and then take the chicken soup away to Uncle C's family. Everyone prepared the chicken soup and sat around the table, sighing with satisfaction as they drank. The hot chicken soup poured down, although very hot, it was also very comfortable. Huazhi sighed while drinking, "Huazhi, since you have such good skills, then don't dig wild vegetables in the future. You can go up the mountain specifically to find wild chickens." "Okay, then I'll often go up the mountain and take a stroll in the future." Huazhi nodded with a smile, trying her luck. "Maybe I can meet a wild chicken like today." Xiao Nan said to Huazhi, "Tomorrow noon, Xiao Bei and I plan to go to the river to pick crabs and eat them. Do you guys want to come together?" A few small people raised their hands repeatedly, indicating that they wanted to go. For rural children, touching crabs is a very interesting activity. Huazhi, who had not experienced it for many years, nodded and said, "I'll go too." Let's see if we can touch some small fish and shrimp. If we can't afford it, can we just catch it ourselves? Huazhi quickly reminded, Huazhi, your body hasn't been well taken care of yet. Be careful, there have been children who drowned in the village before. Huazhi nodded and said, Sister, don't worry, I'm right next to you. I won't go to the middle. Sister Flower, I will help you keep an eye on the flower branches, said Xiaonan. They have been playing together since childhood, and their relationship is good. Xiaonan's slightly ambiguous words were not noticed by anyone, and even Huazhi didn't feel anything about it. Although she hastily got married in her previous life due to the betrayal of Wu Xiaoyue and Zhang Shengjian, she has never been in love and really doesn't understand these things. Like Zhang Shengjian, it's just ordinary, without the feeling of grabbing the heart and scratching the lungs that others say. In her eyes, since she was absolutely in love with someone, she should be serious, responsible, and dedicated. She didn't know there were so many twists and turns in her relationship. At Xiaonan's house, they shared a whole wild chicken and went home satisfied. Thinking of secretly eating chicken outside with her parents behind her back, Huazhi feels guilty. What can she do to ensure that her parents can also eat good food? As she was about to reach the gate of Lao Hua's courtyard, Huazhi said to everyone, You guys go home first. I have to go find Xiaonan again. The flower nodded and said, Okay, then be careful yourself, don't be seen by others. They went to Xiaonan's house with a group of people, and naturally no one doubted anything, but Huazhi went to Xiaonan's house alone. If the villagers saw this, they didn't know how to arrange them. Huazhi came to Xiaonan's doorstep and saw him standing at the gate of the courtyard. She was a bit surprised and said, Xiaonan, why are you standing here? Is there anything wrong? Xiaonan's gaze flickered slightly. It's nothing, it's just that I drank too much chicken soup just now and it's a bit hot. I came out to blow some air. Can you do me a favor tomorrow? Huazhi asked. Xiaonan's cheeks were a little hot. Huazhi, you can say whatever you want me to do without asking for my opinion, because I only agree with one option. Tomorrow, you go to the village chief and help me buy the uninhabited dilapidated house in the third row of the village. Tell me that it was your father who sent money back for you to help him buy it, and then register it under your name. After a few months, transfer it to my name and move out your father. The village chief will definitely not ask too much about anything, said Huazhi, and handed out 50 yuan to Xiaonan. She needs to prepare for future family separation now. If she doesn't separate for the rest of her life, when she goes to college and comes out, her grandparents will definitely make her pay all her income, and it will definitely be cheaper for the fourth uncle and fourth aunt's family. Her money can only be willingly handed over to her parents, and she cannot do it if she is asked to hand it over to others. Xiaonan took the money handed over by Huazhi, nodded, and said seriously, Don't worry. I will definitely help you handle this matter. Xiaonan, thank you. Huazhi smiled slightly at Xiaonan, thanked him, and then turned around to leave. Her figure quickly disappeared into the darkness. Xiaonan stood there, refusing to leave for a long time until he heard his grandmother's cough coming from the room. He then turned around and closed the courtyard door. Huazhi quietly returned to her room. She did not immediately go to bed, but sat at her desk and began writing. Writing manuscripts is really profitable. Over 20 years ago, many famous authors could earn several thousand yuan per book, and when the average salary was around 30 or 40, the cost of writing a book could reach several thousand yuan. This shows how much cultural people make money. Even many people buy a courtyard house with the cost of writing, and her education is not lower than others. Moreover, she has decades of more life experience than others, so she can definitely write excellent literary works. After the reform of the past life, literature flourished in the 1980s. At this time, works were priced at 6.20 yuan per thousand words, and translations were priced at 4.14 yuan per thousand words, making it the most profitable job outside of business. If you didn't seize an opportunity in your past life, you must seize it well in this life. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Be sure to find a way to separate families. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Be sure to find a way to separate families. There was no watch or alarm clock at home, and Huazhi didn't know what time it was written. All she knew was that her hands were sore, and she wrote on a large piece of paper, which was about 2 pages long, estimated to be around 16 to 2,000 words. She hid the manuscript in the drawer, then yawned and went to bed to rest. The next morning, Huazhi was awakened by her mother and said, "Huazhi, get up and have breakfast, otherwise there won't be anything to eat in a while." "Mom, I won't eat anymore." "You can eat my breakfast. Don't give it to Uncle C and the others." Huazhi opened her eyes in a daze and yawned with her mouth open. She had just woken up and had no appetite at all. Her parents work so hard, let them eat more. After finding a good way to separate the family, let her parents take good care of themselves. Huayu, Huafeng, and the youngest Huayu hurriedly got out of bed, without brushing their faces or washing their teeth, and ran straight to the main room. At this time, everyone is not so particular, and few people are willing to spend money on toothpaste, toothbrushes, and other things. They just casually wipe their face with well water, even if they have finished washing. Huazhi didn't have any toiletries before. Originally, her parents saved her money by carrying her grandparents through her teeth while she was studying. However, Huazhi did well in her studies, and the school teachers gave her prizes based on her actual needs. Afterwards, Huazhi had toiletries. But Huazhi dare not wash up openly at home, afraid of being discovered by her grandparents and mistakenly thinking that her parents have saved up private money, so she always goes to the school cafeteria to wash up. On vacation at home, I wait for my family to go out before going to wash up. Recently, due to an accident, I haven't washed up. Because Huazhi is a teacher at the village primary school with a monthly salary of 15 yuan, her days at home are not difficult. Because all of her salary has been handed over to her grandmother, she doesn't have to work as hard as her cousins, brothers, and sisters. When Huazhi thought about giving her grandmother a few hundred yuan in the past 2 years, she was extremely unwilling. She really wanted to split the family with the Hua family, or even cut off the relationship, but it was impossible for her grandparents to agree to it. She is the big spender who earns money from the family. How could her grandparents agree to divide her? So we still need to come up with a suitable solution. At noon, the 20 members of the Lao Hua family were having a meal in the main hall, with sweet potato rice as the main staple. 20% of the rice was paired with 80% of the sweet potato. Grandparents, uncles, aunts, and their 2 sons, Hua Lei and Hua Bing, have rice in their bowls, while the rest of them have sweet potatoes in their bowls. Huazhi was furious in her heart. She didn't expect that she would pay so much money to her family every month and eat such a kind of food. However, the 4th uncle and 4th aunt, who only knew how to cheat and play tricks, could eat rice. Thinking about this, Huazhi felt unfair. But she knew that now was not the right time for the attack because she was not fully prepared yet. After dinner, everyone went out with buckets, bamboo baskets, and straw hats. Why go at this time? Because it's hot at this time, and everyone still needs to take a nap. At this time, no one is rushing to go. In the evening, some people's parents will come over to join in the fun. After about 10 older children arrived at the riverbank, they took off their grass shoes and walked towards the water. The stones were scorching in the scorching sun, causing their feet to burn. The water is not cold, it's warm from the sun. Xiao Nan said, everyone can catch whatever they see, regardless of the type. Whether it's snails, clams, or clam shells, they can all be caught together. When the time comes, we can gather more together. After we finish it, everyone can also share more. Because my younger sister Huayu was only 11 years old, Huazhi didn't let her go into the water. Instead, she asked Hua Shuang and Hua Shui to take her to a cool place to dig wild vegetables, and the big ones would just catch fish. Suddenly, I saw a long, white fish swimming past my feet. Hua Zhi excitedly pounced forward and successfully caught the slippery fish. When I took it out of the water, it turned out to be a 2 to 3 pound beaked fish. Hua Zhi was extremely excited and said, I caught it, I caught it. Xiao Nan quickly filled the bucket with water and then put the fish inside. Huazhi, you're amazing, Xiao Bei. The two of us should also work hard and try to catch more. Everyone will have fish soup tonight, he said. The river water is not deep and very clear. The things at the bottom of the water are clear to see. After Hua Zhi caught a fish, the cat crouched and opened its eyes, using a basket to slowly move forward. From time to time, he lifted the basket out of the water and caught the bouncing small river shrimp in a wooden bucket to keep. From time to time, colorful lights flashed through the river water. Huazhi knew it was a small colored fish, but the fish was extremely fast and the next second it penetrated into the pitch-black water in the middle. The dark water looked a bit scary, and Huazhi didn't dare to go in the middle. She finally had the opportunity to take another chance, but she dared not take any more risks, even if she had been living a miserable life. Huazhi poured the small fish and shrimp from the basket into the wooden bucket and started to fight under the grass on the side. Unexpectedly, there were also crayfish and loaches, which could be eaten anyway. She also collected them directly. Suddenly, she heard a crackling sound. She quickly picked up the basket from under the grass and saw a plump black fish. As the big black fish was about to escape, Huazhi threw it directly towards the shore. Seeing the big black fish landing steadily on the shore, far away from the water source, Huazhi finally calmed down. Huazhi, you're lucky too. Huazhi quickly ran over and saw the big black fish, excited. Suddenly, Liang Huanhuan ran over gasping for breath and stood on the shore shouting loudly, Huazhi, it's not good. Your fourth uncles Hua Lei and Hua Bing are fighting for the flower moon. I'll go up and fight, and they'll even fight me. Upon hearing this, Huazhi was furious and dared to hit her sister. It was really embarrassing for them. Huazhi came to the shore, reached out and broke a bamboo stick before running towards Liang Huanhuan. Huanhuan, where are they? Take me over quickly, she said. Follow Liang Huanhuan to the scene of the incident and indeed see the flower buds and flower ice, one pressing against the flower wind and the other pressing against the flower moon. Hua Feng is a boy and getting beaten is not a big deal, but Hua Yu is a girl and being beaten by her cousin like this will definitely have psychological shadows. Psychological shadows will accompany a person for a lifetime, and this life cannot be easy. Huazhi ran over and fiercely pulled down the back of Hua Bing, who was hitting Huaiyue. Although the bamboo sticks are thin and long, they are a sharp weapon to teach others. She has been beaten by Grandma Hua's bamboo sticks since childhood, and now she finally has the opportunity to beat others. Huazhi bit her lips and pulled hard, each with a strong anger and hatred. The passing of her younger brother and sister must have been due to the two little demons, Hua Lei and Hua Bing. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. No need to be polite to them. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. No need to be polite to them. Hua Bing screamed loudly when he was hit by the flower branch, rolling back and forth on the ground, trying to avoid the blow. But Hua Zhi decided that he must be beaten up today, otherwise they will still bully her younger brother and sister in the future. Hua Lei had already let go of Hua Feng when Hua Bing first screamed, wanting to escape from here, but was blocked by the brothers Xiao Nan and Xiao Bei. They can't clean up Hua Lei, but they can add to his congestion. Huazhi gave Hua Bing a fierce beating, then dragged the bamboo stick and approached Hua Lei step by step. Looking at Hua Zhi's fierce gaze, Hua Lei's heart couldn't help but tremble with fear, but Xiao Nan and Xiao Bei blocked his way and he had nowhere to escape. Hua Zhi raised the thin bamboo stick in her hand and pulled it towards Hua Lei. Will you still bully my younger siblings in the future? There's no big or small dog thing. If you dare to touch my younger brother and sister's finger again, I'll chop you up and throw you on the mountain to feed the wolves. Huazhi gritted her teeth, feeling extremely resentful. Isn't it just because her grandparents doted on their house that it's lawless? They are bullies, so they are indeed dog-like creatures. Hua Lei, Hua Bing, if you two go home and talk nonsense, I will report to the Public Security Bureau, saying that you have pinned a female comrade to the ground, which is playing hooliganism. Don't blame me, my cousin, for being cold and ruthless when we eat in prison. Hua Zhi was tired before stopping. Hua Lei and Hua Zhi's exposed arms and legs didn't have a good spot. Bamboo sticks only hurt the skin and not the bones when hitting people. Many people in the village beat their own children like this, and Huazhi used to eat a lot of bamboo stick stewed meat. After Hua Lei and Hua Bing ran away, Hua Zhi took Huayu into her arms and said, Huayu, it's okay. If they dare to bully you again in the future, just fight back. You don't have to be polite to little demons like them, otherwise they will only become more and more vicious. Hua Zhi looked at Huayu and Hua Feng again and said, don't be polite to Hua Lei and Hua Bing again in the future. I don't believe it. The four of us working together can't even deal with the two little ones. Big sister, we know now, Hua Yujian nodded. When the older sister was bullied by Hua Lei and Hua Bing before, she didn't even dare to fart and had a fight with Wu Xiaoyue, but instead stood up. This change made both Huayu and Hua Feng very happy, and in the future, they can finally unite to the outside world. Let's go and see the fish by the river. I just caught a big black fish, and we can have delicious food tonight. Hua Zhi led Huayu and beckoned everyone to go to the river. The fishy smell was too strong when dealing with fish at home, so Huazhi asked Xiao Nan to go home and bring a kitchen knife. She used the knife to directly deal with the fish and cut them into pieces according to the number of heads. Just now, Liang Huanhuan came over to report to herself, avoiding harm to Hua Feng and Huayu. Therefore, Hua Zhi divided Liang Huanhuan into 2 pieces of fish and asked her to bring them home to stew soup. It's definitely not enough to eat, but drinking some fish soup is also good. Liang Huanhuan pulled a large lotus leaf wrapped around a piece of fish by the river and happily went home, just like her name. Thinking of this lotus leaf, Huazhi came to her senses. In her previous life, at this time, she didn't understand what this lotus leaf was. However, after many years of life, she learned more and naturally knew that something that resembled a lotus leaf was not a lotus leaf at all, but a taro. The bulb at the root and the slender rod in the middle are both edible. With this thing, will you still be hungry in the future? However, there are too many people on site now. If too many people know about it and accidentally reveal it, it will be bad. So it's better to wait until tonight to confirm and then take everyone to fill their stomachs. Thinking of this, Huazhi was overjoyed and quickly said, everyone, hurry up and deal with the small fish and shrimp, and then let Xiao Nan take them home. Let's go over and have fish soup tonight. Today, Hua Feng and Huayu were hit by Hua Lei and Hua Bing, which made Huazhi eager to split up. Although it was difficult, she must find a way to do so as soon as possible. When the fish are all sorted out, let Xiao Nan bring them back. We didn't go together anymore. A lot of people went together during the day, which will definitely attract attention. Let's go up the mountain and dig wild vegetables. We've all come out and come home empty-handed. Grandma must be cursing again, said the flower anxiously. Huazhi nodded and said, okay, let's go up the mountain then. At this time of the day, it was the hottest time of the day, and everyone was resting at home. A few people walked up the mountain without encountering a single person. Huajin rubbed his hands and was eager to give it a try. You're looking for wild vegetables here, I'll go look and see if I can find wild chickens. Go, go. The flower waved her hand and didn't say anything to strike. Hua Zhi also bent down and began searching for edible wild vegetables in the grass. She was not for the people of the Lao Hua family, but for her own parents. She worked so much every day like an old ox, but could not even receive normal treatment. Although wild vegetables are not delicious, they can at least fill her stomach. She also wants her parents to eat more, and after dividing the family, she will definitely find a way to make her parents take good care of her body. There are not many types of wild vegetables in August, only broom vegetables, yellow-bearded vegetables, wild amaranth, purslane, wild perilla, and there is also fishy grass, which is available all year round. It's just that everyone doesn't know that this fishy grass is edible. Even if they know it can be eaten, few people should eat it because the taste of fishy grass is not very pleasant, especially since there is no seasoning yet. We're only looking for wild amaranth today. Wild amaranth should have the best taste among these wild vegetables, because it's very soft after being cooked, unlike broom vegetables and yellow-beard vegetables, which are hard to swallow. After a while, everyone was holding a handful of wild amaranth. Just as they were about to go down the mountain, Huazhi ran over panting. Huazhi curiously asked, "Huazhi, have you found the wild chicken?" Huazhi adjusted his breathing rhythm, took the wild amaranth in Huazhi's hand, stuffed it into Huazhi's arms, and then pulled Huazhi inside. "Huazhi, you're luckier than me, you go find it," he said. Huazhi pushed Huazhi aside and said, "We have fish to eat tonight, so we don't need to catch wild chickens today. I'll come up and try again tomorrow." She was just lucky once, can she still be lucky again and again? When a group of people returned to the old Flower's house, they saw the grandmother of the Flower family feeling both heartbroken and angry due to the injuries of Hua Lei and Hua Bing. She also shed tears and cursed angrily, while the fourth aunt kept saying things like how could someone kill 1,000 knives and not die. Huazhi's eyes glared fiercely at Hua Lei and Hua Bing, both trembling with fear. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Getting the Money Back. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Getting the money back. Huazhi raised her lips with a sarcastic smile. How did these two weak chickens bully her in their past lives, and how did they bully her younger siblings? If they had a little more courage, these two wouldn't dare to be reckless. It's still their fault for being too weak. Grandma, fourth auntie, I think boys should be educated well to avoid causing any trouble outside and being killed by someone. The family members can't even find their bodies. Today they were just beaten, so what should we do next time they are killed? Huazhi spoke slowly. Grandma Hua angrily scolded, "Huazhi, don't curse my grandson here anymore. My grandson is so well behaved, how could he possibly cause trouble outside? Grandma, I think you're old and confused, right? Even though Huazhi is the eldest grandson of the Hua family, why do you only see Hua Lei and Hua Bing? If you don't want to recognize Huazhi, just say it directly, so that Huazhi won't have to work so hard to please you, right?" Huazhi smiled and stared at her calmly. Meanwhile, Grandma Hua's heart trembled as she was stared at by Huazhi. Huazhi's gaze was calm, but it seemed as if she could see through her. Grandma Hua quickly looked at Huazhi, who turned his head and walked away without even giving her a glance. "Hua Lei and Hua Bing, you two are both teenagers and crying like children. It's really embarrassing. I don't know if a man can't shed tears easily. When you cry like this, except for Grandma and fourth auntie who feel sorry for you, others will think that you two are little crying bags and have no future prospects, especially when your tears and nose mix together. It looks really messy and messy. When you grow up, you are still so messy that you can't even marry a wife. TSK TSK TSK, oh, fourth uncle and fourth auntie may be going to die. I wonder if brother Huazhi needs to show filial piety in the future." After Huazhi finished speaking, she shook her head and walked past them to her own house. Grandma and aunt of the Hua family were furious when they heard Huazhi's words, but Huazhi had already left, and Hua Lei and Hua Bing were crying fiercely at this moment, leaving them with no time to worry about anything else. Huazhi returned to her room, sat down and rested for a while, then quickly started tidying up her things. She wanted to divide the house as soon as possible, otherwise she would have to hand over her monthly salary to the Hua family grandmother, and it would all go into the mouth of the Hua family's fourth room. It's summer vacation now, and the salary has been halved, but 7.5 yuan is still money. She doesn't want to let Hua's family use 4 houses anymore. Why should she have to support a group of outsiders with the money she earns, and why should she treat her parents and siblings unfairly? Huayu asked in confusion, "Sister, what are you doing?" "It's okay, the table is too messy, it looks irritable." She wants to split up and move out of the Hua family, so she can't reveal it. Lest the younger brothers and sisters slip their tongue and the plan won't proceed. In the afternoon, Xiao Nan came to the village headquarters to look for the village chief and said, "Uncle Village Chief, my father has written a letter asking me to help him buy a house in the village. So, I want to ask, how much does it cost to buy that old house in the 3rd row that is uninhabited?" Your father wrote a letter back. Did you say when he will come back? Xiao Nan's father was a soldier who defended his country, and the village chief also showed him great respect. Xiao Nan shook his head and said, "It's not written in the letter, and I don't know when he will come back. However, since he asked me to help him buy a house, he must be coming back soon. Otherwise, he wouldn't let me buy a house." As for whether his father will come back, Xiao Nan is not sure. He only knows that his father sends back 5 yuan every month without hesitation, whether it's enough or not, it's always that much. That house, you just need to give it 25 yuan. The village chief took out a piece of paper from a drawer and was about to issue a house certificate when he asked, "Under whose name is it registered? Is it your father or someone else?" "Let's register under my name first. We'll talk about it when my father comes back." Xiao Nan took out 25 yuan and handed it to the village chief. After the village chief opened the house certificate and stamped it, his hanging heart finally let go. This is the first thing that Huazhi arranged for him to do. If this small matter cannot be accomplished, Huazhi should be disappointed, right? Coming out of the village headquarters, Xiao Nan headed straight to the uninhabited house in the 3rd row. It had not been inhabited for many years, and the courtyard wall had already collapsed. One side of the house also collapsed, and the house needed to be rebuilt to accommodate people. Such a shabby house charges 25 yuan, this village chief must be too dark. Although there is still 25 yuan left now, whether to rebuild this house or not, we still need to ask Huazhi about his intentions, so as not to make decisions and make Huazhi angry. At night, when everyone in the 4th room of the Hua family fell asleep and there was no sound left, everyone sneaked out in batches to Xiao Nan's house to eat fish and drink fish soup. Hua Zhi asked Hua Jin and Hua to each help her carry a bag of things. She planned to slowly put all the things in her room at Xiao Nan's house, so that when they split up, her grandmother wouldn't let them leave the house with nothing. This is very likely to happen because grandparents have a preference for a 4th bedroom, so they must have assumed in their hearts that everything in the family belongs to the 4th bedroom. Upon arriving at Xiao Nan's house, Huazhi said to him, "Xiao Nan, I have some things. Can I leave them at your house for a while?" "Sure, it would be better if you could come with me to my room." Xiao Nan nodded and led everyone to his room. Upon entering the room, Xiao Nan opened the wardrobe and took out the clothes inside, saying, "You guys put the things down, I'll cover the clothes on top, so no one will notice anything else inside." Huazhi nodded and said, "Could you please?" Everyone put their things away and went to the kitchen to drink fish soup. Xiao Nan pulled up Huazhi's clothes and let her walk with him at the end, whispering to her, "Huazhi, I have already bought the house you want, but it can't be inhabited at all. It needs to be demolished and rebuilt. Do you want to rebuild it? I'm going to tell you about this." Hua Zhi took out a piece of paper from her pocket and handed it to Xiao Nan. "You'll have to come forward and find someone to help me build the house. If my grandparents know that I bought this house, they will definitely take it away and give it to Hua Lei or Hua Bing. Could you please help me build it in this style? The courtyard wall should be 2 meters high because I don't want others to notice the situation at home anytime and anywhere." She only has the 500 yuan compensation given by Zhang Shengjian, and I don't know if it's enough. It seems like she can find a way to get back the 300 yuan she handed over to Grandma Hua. Why use her money to support a 4-bedroom family? Raising children is the responsibility of parents. When did it become the responsibility of her granddaughter? End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Taro. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Taro. Arriving at the kitchen, everyone had already picked up their respective bowls, eaten fish chunks, and drank fish soup. Everyone's bowl is filled with a piece of curly-mouthed fish, a piece of black fish, and small fish and shrimp. Xiao Nan didn't make crayfish and loach. The quantity was too small and didn't divide enough, so he didn't do it. When he accumulated enough and everyone had enough to divide, he could do it again. After finishing the hot fish soup, Hua Zhi felt comfortable all over. She looked at Hua Zhi and said, "Hua Zhi, when will we resume class?" "Let's wait a few days. I still have things to deal with. After we finish, we can continue with class. I will speed up the pace of class so that everyone can learn more knowledge in the shortest possible time." The Hua family is really unfair to their children. Currently, only Hua Lei and Hua Bing from the 4th uncle's family are in school, but their grades are not good and they are just slacking off. The others quietly followed Hua Zhi to learn after she returned. But Huazhi's class progress was too slow before, and it took them 2 years to finish 2nd grade. Huazhi has decided, and once the troublesome matters are resolved, we will teach them again. Accelerate the pace and solve the curriculum for 1 grade in a month. Strive to complete all the courses for junior high school, and senior high school before taking the college entrance examination next year, and then register to take the exam. After eating a bowl of fish soup, Huazhi felt her body warming up everywhere, which was a pleasure. If I could eat like this every day, it would be great. This way, I can quickly recover my body and do more things. After the younger brothers and sisters fell asleep, Huazhi went out with a tin flashlight. She wanted to go to the river to confirm whether the lotus leaf was actually a taro. If so, I really don't have to go hungry anymore in the future. Before Huazhi could reach the riverbank, she saw a bright light, not from a flashlight, but from a fire. She quickly turned off the flashlight, hid her position, and after a while, cautiously walked towards the riverbank. Arriving by the river, I found Xiao Nan. He held a torch in one hand and a basket in the other. "Xiao Nan, what are you doing?" Huazhi walked to the beach by the river and asked in confusion. Upon hearing the sound of Huazhi, Xiao Nan felt a little nervous and adjusted his bouncing heart before saying, "Look at the 2 fish you caught today. I feel like there should still be some fish in the river, so I wanted to come and try my luck and see if I could catch a few fish to exchange for some money. As you know, my dad sends back 5 yuan in a month, but my grandparents are both sick and 5 yuan is not enough for our family." Huazhi is very clear about the situation of Xiao Nan's family, but because she is aware of it, she also feels very sorry for Xiao Nan's experience and situation. When Xiao Nan's mother gave birth to Xiao Yun, Xiao Nan's younger brother, she passed away due to difficult childbirth and heavy bleeding. At that time, Xiao Nan's grandparents were already in poor health, so they couldn't help Xiao father take care of the child. Xiao father had to take his newly born 4th son to work and entrust money to his comrade's daughter-in-law who had just given birth to help take care of him. Later on, Xiao Nan's grandparents became even worse and couldn't take care of their 3 children. Zhao's father took over Xiao Nan's older brother Xiao Dong and second brother Xiao Shi, but left Xiao Nan, who was young, to take care of his grandparents. Later, under the operation of Zhao's father, both Xiao Dong and Xiao Shi entered the military camp and became soldiers defending their country. Xiao Dong also became a leader's quick son-in-law, and Xiao Shi did not know if he was married. Due to the gap between urban and rural areas, identity differences, and distance, Xiao Dong, Xiao Shi, and Xiao Yun actually have no contact with Xiao Nan. Only Zhao's father sends back 5 yuan a month to Xiao Nan. But for Xiao Nan and his team, these 5 yuan are nothing but a drop in the bucket. So Xiao Nan's life was also very poor. Zhao's father was really unfair to him. The three brothers lived a good life with their father, only leaving him in the countryside. However, their treatment was not as convenient as 1/10 of theirs. Zhao's father has fatherly love for Xiao Nan, but it is definitely not much, even less than 1/1000th of his love for the other three children. Because of his identity and status, he definitely likes children who are successful. But Xiao Nan's mediocrity cannot be separated from his handwriting. Xiao Nan, let's cooperate. Huazhi turned on her flashlight and shone the light onto the river, where she could clearly see small fish and shrimp. Xiao Nan looked at Huazhi with suspicion, not understanding her meaning. What I mean is that the two of us catch fish together, and then you go sell the fish and earn the money. We share the money equally. After all, one person's power is definitely not as strong as two people's power, right? Huazhi walked over and took the basket in Xiao Nan's hand. Then, holding a flashlight in one hand and a basket in the other, she shone the flashlight on the river surface. Whenever a larger fish appeared in the aperture, she used the basket to catch it. I don't know if it's luck or something. In less than half an hour, Huazhi caught 15 fish, almost all of which were grass carp, black fish, and carp. They were not small in size, and the smallest ones weighed over a pound. Huazhi, you're really amazing. I've been here for a while and haven't seen a single fish. Xiao Nan really admired it. Collaborating with Huazhi was clearly taking advantage of himself. You're using a torch, and the light moves with the wind. When the fish saw it, they were already scared and ran away. Mine was the light of a flashlight, different. Huazhi didn't think she was powerful, at most it was just her luck. The most important thing is that it is summer now, and the weather is hot. Fish come out to cool down and forage at night, so catching fish is relatively easy. Is this fish going to be sold at a purchasing station? There is a purchasing station in the town that collects various agricultural and sideline products, but the prices are very low, almost all of which cost several pounds to sell for a penny, which is not cost-effective at all. If we sell these fish there, it's better to keep them for our own consumption. Huazhi shook her head and looked a bit serious. If we go to the acquisition station to sell, others will know that we are catching fish in the river. Those who mess around and pester will definitely say that the fish is collective, and if we catch it, we will share it with them, or if we sell the fish, we will share it with them. Why do we do such a thankless thing? That. Xiao Nan looked at the flower branch in confusion. Huazhi continued, go to the hospital because only medical staff are on night shifts at the hospital, and the quality of medical staff is generally high. In addition, they have high salaries and can afford it, and they don't envy us, let alone report us. Let's go to your house, change the back basket and pack the fish. Tonight, let's go to the hospital and see if we can sell it, suggested Huazhi. Xiao Nan nodded, and then the two of them went to Xiao Nan's house together. Huazhi kept the two largest fish and kept them in a bucket. After that, they carried a few fish with Xiao Nan and set off. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. The Road of Life. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. The Road of Life. The lay production team is 10 miles away from the town. If there is a bicycle, it takes about 50 minutes to an hour to arrive. They don't have a bicycle, so they can only rely on walking. Hua Zhi held a flashlight, illuminating the road leading to the town. In Xiao Nan's heart, what was illuminated was not the simple path to the town, but the path of his life. He turned his head and looked at the confident and resolute flower branch beside him, feeling an unprecedented sense of satisfaction and stability. After 2 hours of running around, the two finally arrived at the entrance of the town hospital. Hua Zhi turned her head to look at Xiao Nan and asked, "You brought your grandparents to the hospital for treatment before. Do you remember the name of the doctor?" Xiao Nan shook his head and said, "I don't recognize many characters. Even if I see a sign hanging on someone's chest, I can't recognize it. He is not even at the level of 3rd grade now, and he used to not recognize words." How can he look at someone else's work badge? Okay, let's just go in and find a nurse. Huazhi turned off her flashlight and walked towards the hospital with her backpack on her back. As soon as she arrived at the hospital lobby, a nurse came over and asked, "What do you two do? Do you see a doctor or a patient?" "Sister, can I spare you a few seconds? I have something I want to tell you," Hua Zhi whispered. Because at the beginning, she didn't know the person's character, and she didn't dare to make a big fuss about selling fish. "What's up?" the nurse walked over and asked in confusion. Hua Zhi lifted the grass from the basket and let the nurse see the fish inside. Then, she quickly covered it with grass and said with a tearful expression, "Our grandparents have been sick for a long time, and our family can't afford to spend a penny on their medical treatment and medicine. So, we took the risk to go to the big river and catch a few fish. If we want to change the medical expenses for our grandparents, we don't need to spend too much. No matter how big or small, they all cost 50 cents per fish, each weighing more than 1 pound. We can't afford to lose money or fall for it." The nurse's eyes lit up when she heard Huazhi's words. She hadn't eaten meat for a while and now she's so greedy. It's also possible to buy some fish to satisfy her craving. "You guys go to the hallway and wait for me, I'll help you ask if anyone else wants it." The nurse finished speaking and then turned around and left. If she bought a fish herself, everyone would definitely ask her how it came from. The best way is to let everyone have fish to eat, so no one would gossip. After a while, the nurse came out and asked in the hallway, "How many fish do you have in total?" "We have a total of 13 fish here, each weighing over 1 pound, and even more than 2 pounds. Buying them is definitely not a loss." Hua Zhi looked at the nurse with a pitiful expression. The nurse took out $1 and handed it to Hua Zhi. Then she picked out a grass carp and a black fish from Hua Zhi's basket. The 2 fish together weighed at least 4 pounds. Buying 4 pounds of fish for $1 was really a blood gain. After the first nurse bought 2 fish, the other nurses probably saw the size of the fish and knew that they were making a profit by buying it today. So they all came over to buy the fish, and in a short while, the fish sold out. Hua Zhi and Xiao Nan earned 6,500 yuan just like this. Some people came late and didn't buy it. When asked when they would come next time, Hua Zhi didn't specify, only said to sell fish when the medical expenses were not enough. What if she says she will come back tomorrow and they give her a trap in a jar? At the entrance of the lay production team's village, Huazhi handed over all the money to Xiao Nan and said, "You go back and divide the money into 2 parts, put my part together with my things, and we will all go fishing together in the evening. But when we sell fish, I won't come with you. When you come to the hospital to sell fish, be clever and don't reveal your name, don't let anyone recognize you, and don't foolishly flirt with the beautiful nurse sister. Do you understand? No matter how tempted you are, you have to wait for your own conditions to be good before pursuing others. Now that you can't eat enough or wear warm clothes, even if you hook up, it's still a way for others to live a difficult life with you. Poor couples are always sad, understand? Are you willing to let the person you like live a difficult life with you?" Xiao Nan looked at Hua Zhi with a somewhat serious expression. "I'm talking to you, did I hear you?" Huazhi saw that Xiao Nan was silent, so she reached out and pushed his shoulder. "It's okay if you don't understand. Anyway, remember one thing. When you can't even eat enough, don't think about marrying a wife and having children." Huazhi didn't care if Xiao Nan understood or not, so she walked straight towards the village with big strides. Quietly sneaking back to her room, Huazhi carefully climbed onto the bed to rest. After running around outside for so long, she no longer had any intention of thinking about literature. It's better to wait until she finishes this period of work and start creating again. The next morning, when Huazhi woke up, the window was shining with dazzling sunlight. Meanwhile, her stomach was also growling with hunger. Huazhi quickly got up, hid in her room and quietly washed up. Then she quickly went to the kitchen to find food, only to find that there was nothing left and the door to the cupboard was also locked. She felt a little angry and paid her monthly salary, only to be treated this way. This family must be divided as soon as possible. If we continue to procrastinate, her younger brother and sister's physical growth time will be delayed. At this time, make good use of it, so that they can all grow strong and have a healthy physique. Only with good health can we think about future things. Huazhi decided to take action early, so she hurriedly tidied up and went out. She went to the river first, pulled out a hairy taro head with both hands, and found a fist-sized bulb underneath. She knew it was edible hairy taro. The simplest way to eat hairy taro is to wash the skin together, put it directly into a pot and boil it with water until the chopsticks can be easily inserted and cooked thoroughly. After removing the skin, it can be eaten. If you have seasoning at home, you can further process it, so that the taste can also be better. There's no place to put it now, and Huazhi doesn't want anyone to know about it for now, so she buried the taro in the previous pit and went to town alone. Huazhi set off late, and the ox cart in the village had already left. She didn't expect to take the ox cart anymore. Anyway, her grandmother couldn't force her to go to work. 5 people from the 3 of them had already gone to work, and that was already enough. Halfway through, I encountered another village's ox cart. Seeing that there weren't many people on it, Huazhi asked, "Grandpa, can I take a ride on your village's ox cart?" The old man nodded with a smile as he saw a delicate and elegant girl. "Are you going to town?" "If you're going to town, come up. If you're going somewhere else, we won't be able to make it." "It's going to town, thank you." After thanking Huazhi, she walked to the back and got on the ox cart. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Seeking Help. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Seeking Help. The ants on the ox cart all made way to the side, afraid of squeezing into Huazhi, because Huazhi's artistic style made them feel like a city girl. At this moment, an ant curiously moved to the side of Huazhi and lightly patted her shoulder. Huazhi turned her head in confusion and looked over. When she saw the face of the ant, her pupils trembled and her body couldn't control it. She became very uneasy. This person is none other than the mother of the man she hastily married in her previous life to argue with Wu Xiaoyue. This man also has a younger sister, and the mother and daughter have been bullying her very harshly, to the point where Huazhi is reborn and unwilling to think back on anything after getting married in her previous life. "Miss, what's wrong with you? Why do you look so scared? Can I still eat people?" Auntie said and smiled, but the smile didn't reach her eyes, and there was also a hint of calculation inside. Huazhi tightly gripped the strap of the military green crossbody bag, almost tearing it apart in anger. She suppressed her huge anger and said, "I'm not afraid, I'm having a strange illness. If someone slaps me, I'll become like this. My illness is difficult to cure, and even if it can be cured, it will cost a lot of money. It's also difficult to have a child after being cured." Huazhi doesn't want to have any further involvement with that man. In her previous life, she was foolish and insisted on getting married in a hurry just to fight against Wu Xiaoyue. Even though she was a primary school teacher, she defeated Wu Xiaoyue on this one point. Wu Xiaoyue can't even count as her opponent. Why is she so angry? In the end, it's not that it's hurting oneself, but also hurting one's family. Upon hearing this, Auntie felt very regretful in her heart. It would have been better if she hadn't fallen ill and didn't have to spend money. This would have allowed her son to marry this polite girl back home, so that she could have someone filial and someone to take over, and she wouldn't have to work so hard again in the future. She really likes this girl. She is polite, humble and gentle in her dealings with others. She is definitely the kind of person who is easy to handle. At this moment, Guan Qingsheng, who was the sister of the man Hua Zhi hastily married in his previous life, also moved over and curiously asked, "Is there such a strange disease in this world?" Don't be fooled by Guan Qingfang's harmless smile now, but she is very malicious in her heart. She happens to be a malicious mother.in.law and a malicious sister.in.law with her mother, and they are particularly fond of meddling in other people's affairs. The two of them stir up the smoke in the house every day. The person Huazhi disliked the most and didn't want to see the most in her past life was Guan Qingsheng's mother and his sister. She didn't have such a big opinion of Guan Qingsheng yet, but she was just a man who was caught between his wife and mother and didn't know how to coordinate. But in this life, she will not marry him again, nor will she consider marriage anymore. She only wants to spend her whole life with her parents, cultivate her younger brothers and sisters, and let everyone live a good life. In the past and future, life has been getting better and better. Every household is upstairs and downstairs, with lights and telephones, and it is also very convenient to buy things. There is no longer a need for various ticket systems. With money, everything can be bought, and everyone can freely do business. Many people have earned money and become wealthy. But she ruined her life that should have been great just to fight against Wu Xiaoyue. Huazhi Chongguan Qingfang smiled faintly and said, "Yes, so stay away from me, otherwise if I faint later, you will have to pay for my treatment." Upon hearing these words, Guan Qingfang and her daughter instinctively moved aside a little, afraid that they might not have offended the fox and still be in a mess. Watching the annoying mother and daughter finally move away from her, Huazhi felt a little more comfortable in her heart. Otherwise, she really couldn't control her facial expression. After all, she really despised them. The ox cart arrived in the town. Huazhi gave money, said goodbye to the old man, and then walked towards his destination. Soon, Huazhi arrived at the destination of this trip, which is the waste station in the town. An old man lay on the floor, the fan in his hand fluttering slightly. As soon as Huazhi arrived here, the old man felt it and sat up directly. "Huazhi, you haven't come for a long time, have you forgotten about me, the old man?" Hua Zhi smiled shyly and said, "Forgetting anyone is impossible to forget Grandpa Zhang. If it weren't for Grandpa Zhang's help, how could I have finished high school? So I will never forget Grandpa Zhang in my lifetime." To be honest, she was able to graduate from high school not only because her parents had the courage, but also because this old man was kind and agreed to let her help here. Although she didn't earn much, she could still manage herself. But this Grandpa Zhang is 100 times stronger than her grandfather from the flower family. "Grandpa Zhang, I came to see you today and there is something I want to ask for your help with. However, I will definitely not let Grandpa Zhang help in vain. After the matter is completed, I will find a way to send Grandpa Zhang 200 pounds of something that can fill his stomach, but it is definitely not wild vegetables, rice husks, wheat bran, or other things. When asking for help, one must always give some benefits, especially since the old man is not young enough to make him run for himself. Not giving him something will also make him feel guilty. At this time, money is not the most important thing, food is the most important." The old man got up from the floor and walked up to Huazhi, curious and asking, "What do you want me to help you with?" "I want Grandpa Zhang to bring a few people to my house and help me successfully split the family." "No, it's just to cut off the relationship. I pay my monthly salary in full, but none of my parents, brothers, and sisters can eat enough. They are all skinny. On the contrary, my 4 uncles and aunts, who don't do anything, eat the best and do the least work in the family every day. I really care about my family, so I want to quickly leave the Hua family so that my parents can take good care of themselves, because I'm afraid my son wants to be raised and I won't treat him." In her previous life, she did not show good filial piety to her parents, which was the biggest regret in her life. In this life, she will definitely not let anything happen to her parents again. Grandpa Zhang looked at Huazhi with a troubled expression and said, "Huazhi, Grandpa really wants to help you, but Grandpa doesn't know how to help you." Huazhi leaned into Grandpa Zhang's ear and whispered her plan. She then handed over the prepared report letter and severance documents to Grandpa Zhang, saying, "Grandpa Zhang, I'll trouble you with this matter. After it's done, I'll give you 10 more fish, each weighing over half a pound. She really doesn't want to see her family living a difficult life at the Lao Hua family anymore. First, pick out her own small house and then look at the opinions of her uncle and second uncle's family. If they don't want to, then forget it. She can occasionally help her cousins. End of this chapter.